Shalom everyone, this is Rabbi Shlomo Katz. You're listening to The Soul of Israel on thelandofisrael.com, on the Land of Israel Network. Another gorgeous Tuesday morning here in the Judean Hills. And the gift of waking up and going to sleep in the Holy Land, let me tell you friends, it never, ever, ever gets old. Never. Ever. It's probably the most miraculous thing about my personal life. Ari, Boker Tov, you feel the same?
Boker Tov, I have to say that not only does it not get old, but it gets newer.
It gets newer.
It gets newer.
Very interesting.
I have never experienced anything like that, and even to this day, there's times where I'm scared a little bit that it will.
Yeah, just naturally, nature. Yeah.
But I have to say also that being out there on that mountain has amplified that. But I felt that all the years that I was here before.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah.
You really feel the renewal of creation. One of the key elements of our faith is the concept of God is not just that He created the world, He's recreating the world all the time. He's recreating it. So wouldn't it be beautiful to join God in recreation? That'd be a wonderful thing. That's what I wanted to talk about today. How do we become partners with God in creation? So that seems like a very far-fetched thing for a human being to do. The only time we really refer to that is one of my favorite Torahs to mention under a chuppah. And speaking to someone who will be under a chuppah very soon, Bezrat Hashem, b'sha'at v'amutzlachat, we have a bracha, we have a blessing that we say under the chuppah that we should be saying at birth. And that is the bracha that says, Asher yatzar et ha'adam betzalmo. God created man in His image. And the Mea Shiloach, the Ishbitzer Rebbe, asks, why isn't that a bracha that's mentioned at a brit milah, at a circumcision, or at a simchat bat, when you celebrate the birth of a daughter, talking about the creation of man? So the Ishbitzer says, you're only considered to really be in the image of God when you do something godly. So what's so godly about marriage is that you're creating a new concept that 1 + 1 = 1. When you're taking two pieces and you're making that into one brick, that's considered a creation. So therefore, you're referred to as being created in the image of God when you're under a chuppah, because that's when you really become partners in this act of creation. So when else do we feel like we're creating something that didn't exist before? Did you ever have a feeling that you created something that didn't exist before, and not necessarily something in the form of something physical? That's easy. Meaning, to feel like that is very easy. There was nothing here. I created something, whether it's a person, whether it's a building. That's already like easy to feel I created something. But we're speaking now about, in a deeper level. Did you ever feel like you brought down something to the world that didn't exist? And please, be humble.
No, I don't know if this is what you mean, but there are times when I'm going to give a speech and I'm writing it down, and it's like, as I'm writing, I'm saying, thank you, Hashem, thank you, Hashem. I know this is from you. I know this is from you. As I'm writing the words, and it's like there's certain chidushim, new things, new ideas, new concepts, new perspectives that I feel like have come down through me. That Hashem has blessed me on that. I'm sure you've experienced that all
wonderful.
Day.
No,
but
I feel it sometimes with songs, definitely with certain nigunim, that come down and oh wow, yeah, this.
But not certain Torahs.
Torahs is, I don't know what, for some reason I still I'm like hiding in that area, I just feel like each person has to, feel. I guess it's false humility what I'm about to say right now, so I'll just be quiet. Yeah, with Torahs too sometimes, but I think with song, I definitely feel that very much. It's an incredible thing. So our parsha of the week. I
feel like your Torah chidushim, by the way, come out very often in interactions, meaning like you have like shirim that you give, but then the chidushim often that I experience from you are when people ask you questions and you respond to them, and like they come out more there.
100%. I think you're right, and that's why it's not so easy for me to say, oh yeah, with chidushim too, because it's not that I sit down and I write down a chidush of Torah. I'm like, wow, now there's something here that wasn't before. But quite often, it's really accurate what you're saying. When I'm engaging in a conversation with someone about things that are of meaning, and practicality to the health of our souls, I do feel it very much so.
Right. You were
Yes.
saying, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm saying that this is really the theme of what I wanted to share today and discuss in our parsha, that our parsha is very rich with many, many different topics. Aaron the high priest lighting the menorah, Jethro leaving Am Yisrael, the command to make the chatzotzrot, which means the silver trumpets, the story of Moshe being spoken lashon hara about him and his wife by his brother and sister, and many others. There's mamash many other subtopics as well. But there's one very interesting subtopic, which very much relates to the concept of creating something new, but not in a way that you'd think of. You know, what happens to you when you become tameh? When you become spiritually contaminated? Last week we saw it as well about the Nazir, the Nazarite, where he peta pitom, suddenly he became tameh. He suddenly came in contact with dead, which made him spiritually impure. What do you do at that moment? Do you stop and say to yourself, wow, this must mean that I'm really, really low? Or perhaps could it be, this must mean that the whole world was waiting for me to find a new path of tshuva, which didn't exist before. So I once heard from Rabbi Shlomo Katz, who quoted, I believe, the Rebbe of Rav Shitzer, the Rav Shitzer Rebbe, Reb Naftali of Rav Shitzer, that he said that in this world, when someone does an avera, when someone transgresses, or someone becomes impure, they look at them and say, wow, look what kind of stink they got themselves into. But in Shamayim, in heaven, there's another voice. And that voice says, wow, Naftalchik is going to look at the new path of tshuva that's going to be created now, because this person has to find a way back. And that's the quintessential question that, you know, each of us is asked in that core, in that heart of hearts of like, when it hits, who shows up? The guy that feels like, oh my God, look how low I fell? Or the guy that actually believes, oh, this is interesting. The path home now is going to be even more interesting, right? So we see that in our parsha. What happens, it's called the Torah of Pesach Sheni, the holiday of second chances. Where are we in the Torah? We're speaking about people that were spiritually impure at the time of Pesach, when they're supposed to bring the Korban Pesach. That's the 15th day of the month of Nisan, the 14th day of the month of Nisan, right? That they're supposed to bring that Korban and they eat it the following day. But if you've come in contact with the dead, then you can't, your status is you're not allowed to bring a Korban on that day. You first have to go through the ritual of impurity, of purity. So the people that were carrying the bones of Joseph, they were carrying Joseph's body, right? We were carrying Yosef HaTzadik with us. They were busy with such a holy mitzvah, but it prevented them from doing this incredible mitzvah of bringing a Korban Pesach. So they come to Moshe Rabbeinu, and they use a very interesting language when they describe their discomfort and their pain over the fact that they couldn't bring the Korban Pesach. They say the following two words, Lama Nigara, which means, on the most simple level, why should we be left? Why should we be missing? Why should we be left out from such an awesome opportunity? It's too hard for us to accept that because of being busy with that mitzvah and becoming spiritually impure because I'm involved in the mitzvah. I should be, discriminated against, so to speak. So Moshe Rabbeinu looks at them and says, you know what? There's something about you're saying. Let me talk to God. And Hashem says, look what these people did. They brought out a new halacha in the world. The Torah was given. All the laws are there. But you know what? Sometimes we find ourselves in very uncomfortable situations that we have no control over. And the question is, what do you do then? Do you just say, I lost it. I'm out of the machne. I lost it. I'm out of the camp. Or do you cry out to Hashem and say, there must be another way for me to have the privilege of bringing forth a korban, of coming close to you? That's what a korban means. So what did they do? They said what they said, and they brought down a new holiday. They created a new holiday called Pesach Sheni. But where did it come from? Where did it stem from? Not wanting to miss out an opportunity to be close. And when in your heart, your desire is only to get closer and closer to God. And that's what you're working from. Not, whoa, why them and not me, but really just a simple notion of, I want to be closer and closer to you, Hashem. And that's your premise, that's your base, that's where you're launching from when you speak to God about all the spiritual impurities of your life. You don't know. You could be creating a brand new holiday that never ever existed. And you wouldn't have created that holiday if you didn't find yourself in what's called spiritual darkness in the first place. So this parsha is coming to teach us something very crucial amongst all the subtopics.
It's also, in my mind, there's always this negative judgment I had of feeling this FOMO, fear of missing out.
Correct.
Yeah, and I'm always like, just be where I am right now. Right. But here it's saying, no, FOMO is beautiful in the right
if it's
situation.
For holiness, yeah.
If you're standing from a distance and looking at the gates of Shemaim opening and closing, and you're being held back at a distance, and it's not any fault of your own, then FOMO is a holy thing.
Could be. It could be, correct. So this is like, yeah, I like that. It's Pesach Sheni is the Kedusha of FOMOism.
Maybe that's the title. Title of the show.
Well, you'll see. Whatever shows up in your inbox, then we'll decide what the title of the show is.
Right.
But it's a beautiful thing to create. We all want to, we have this innate feeling, need, and we want to be creators. We want to be innovators because we're created in Tzelem Elokim, we're created in the image of creation by the Creator Himself. So sometimes, this is the teaching, sometimes you could create from a place of Kedusha. And that's beautiful. But sometimes life throws you some curveballs. But it doesn't mean that those aren't moments to create things as well. That's where Bechira Chovshis, that's where free will is celebrated most. Do I look at the confusions of life that led me to where I am as downfalls or opportunities to now bring down new holidays? So Moshe tells Hashem the story. Hashem says, tell them to bring that Korban Pesach a month later, Yud Daled Iyar. And they created the holiday of second chances. And I think that it's very important that this holiday of second chances shows up in our portion and in this book of Bamidbar, because this book of Bamidbar, like we know, is called the book of mistakes, because there's a lot of great people that are doing a lot of big mistakes. But the question is, what happens to you after the mistake? Are you bringing down a new holiday? Or are you just saying to yourself, look, that must be the real me. That must be the real me. I bless us all to be in tune with the voice in Shamayim that happens after mistakes. The voice that says, oh wow, Chavra, check this out. They're going to find a new path home, a new path that never existed. And may we all really believe in the concept of Pesach Sheni, the holiday of second chances.
Amen.
Who are we as a people? Who are we as a nation? What does it mean to be a Jew in the land of Israel, as a Jew in Judea? What is our message to the world? We're finally back in our land, and we get to ask these questions.
Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to make Judea and Samaria an issue for the entire world, to know that the Jews have a place in the world.
Israel Inspired with Ari Abramowitz and Jeremy Gimpel on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com.